Welcome to another episode of the Superhero Movie Club, a community of superhero movie fans. All nerds welcome, but please wipe your feet at the door. I'm your comic book cultured host, Michael Maurer, joined by the movie maestro,
Jaden Skyler Houtsma,
and the scientific scholar,
Ben Anderson.
and a...
Essay.
What? Hold up.
Fuck. Okay.
There's the first one. We're barely 10 seconds in, and I have to cut all of this shit out. And a very warm welcome to a very special guest we have in the proverbial studio today.
Twitter Tom. What's up,
Twitter
guys?
Tom. Twitter Tom is here. Oh, how are you, Twitter Tom?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Pretty fabulous.
Yeah.
It's so much better when you're here. All right. In case people don't know, Twitter Tom is our #1 fan. I think that is irrefutable. And we're so glad to have him on the show today where, Ben, pick us up.
All right. SHMC is your premier movie discussion podcast. Each week, we continue our journey exploring our favorite subject, superhero movies. Every fan sees the movies differently, so we gather some amateur experts to discuss certain aspects of the movie.
Whether it's money, comic books, music, or science, SHMC talks about it all in this week's episode, The Incredible Hulk. And yes, there will be spoilers.
Okay. So, the Incredible Hulk. Not the Ang Lee Hulk, the Louis
Vuitton.
Louis Vuitton. What has that guy been doing nowadays?
Designing handbags.
It's not. No. Okay. What's his actual name? Is it Louis Vuitton?
No, I'm probably
Lettieri.
not.
Viteri?
Lettieri? I don't know how you pronounce it.
Louis Anderson.
Louis Vuitterier. We'll just say that he's French, right? Is that what he is?
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe so.
So we're gonna go with first opinions, and we're gonna start with Ben.
Oh, I start. Wow. Okay, I liked it. Mostly. In that it was very much a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie because it was fun, but ultimately just a little shallow and pointless. But, you know, it was fun, so whatever.
Hold on. What, Genie? Yeah, I know. I'm in the middle of the show. All right, go ahead, Skylar.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree that Incredible Hulk was fun. I think it's about the best you're going to get out of a standalone Hulk movie, due to the fact that I find it more balanced than the first one in that they worked in aspects of the Hulk we know as the big raging monster action stuff, and also the Man on the Run too that became popular in the 70s. Big slowdown point just after the halfway mark in the movie. Effects looked dated even the moment the movie came out. But on the whole, I look back at this fondly, especially among the Marvel movies as a whole. So.
All right, and what did you think, Twitter Tom?
I liked it, and a lot of people I know weren't a fan of it, but I liked it. I don't know if it's the nostalgia value. I took my dad there to see it, so that was kind of cool. But I just rewatched it before this podcast, and yeah, like Skylar said, it's a fun movie. It's I enjoy it. It's about, like you said, the best you can get for a Hulk movie. You know you're going in to watch a big green guy beat up a big brown guy, and I mean you can't ask for much better than that. I mean it was I thought it was solid, and I thought it was one of the better Marvel movies.
All right. What I really like about The Incredible Hulk is how much you can, see how much it is influenced by Ang Lee's Hulk, and that it's sort of this weird trend that happened in right after 2005 when superhero movies just started becoming reactionary, where after Superman Returns, you were like you needed to have a Man of Steel movie. After Ang Lee's Hulk, where it was very somber, very long, melodramatic, emotional, not a whole lot of action, and the action was very incoherent, you had to have a straight up blockbuster. Hulk is punching a force. He's not punching a cloud. He's taken down this Russian guy we've given very little backstory. It's got like almost an identical structure to Ant-Man.
Except it's better than Ant-Man.
And arguable.
No mutant poodles.
Yeah, and he doesn't fight stupid mutant dogs. And it is really just like a very forgotten Marvel movie. Like people don't really put it in the MCU, even though everything happened, because they never really talk about it. We might get to hear about it again when in future movies. We'll talk about that later. But Incredible Hulk is just a solid brick and mortar action film. I use the term brick and mortar incorrectly so much, and it's just a lot of fun if you like that kind of action, that fantasy guy gets mad, punches stuff. It's really cool.
It's a competently executed superhero movie.
That is a correct formation of words. And so we're going to move right on then to money.
Okay.
Go ahead, Skylar.
Yeah, you're saying this movie was kind of one of the forgotten films of the MCU. Maybe that's something to do with this next category. So, production budget, $150 million. Baseline, normal, all that stuff. Brought in $134.8 million, so just under its budget. Elsewhere in the world, it added $128.6 million for a grand total of $263.4.
That's not good for 2008.
Not for 2008. It released middle of July, a couple weeks after Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, about a month before The Dark Knight. So it had a window as far as big superhero tentpoles go, but didn't super perform, especially when compared to Iron Man that year.
Well, when you're looking at Hulk from just like the financial point is, now Marvel Studios is established. Like, everybody knows when the next Marvel movie is coming out. Anybody who's looking, it's really easy to find. And if you're not looking, it's kind of in your face. What Hulk, the only prerequisite the Incredible Hulk had, was Ang Lee's Hulk movie. And people didn't know that there was no a lot of talk that it was going to be completely different. You got a sense of it in the trailers. So this movie was fighting an uphill battle, and Iron Man had just started to establish the MCU, and it wasn't until Iron Man 2, I'd say probably Thor, that you were like, oh, these guys are getting a really solid set of movies in. Go ahead.
For sure. Had this movie come out with the kind of knowledge of Marvel that's out there now, that definitely would have boosted it up, but upon release, it just had itself to promote, essentially.
Yeah, and they kind of wow, that was barely covered.
I'm really sorry. I just wanted to add, I definitely did not see this in theaters because I remembered the 2003 Hulk movie, and then I watched it on DVD 6 months after it came out, and I was like, oh, I should have seen this earlier because it's pretty good.
It was
surprisingly good.
Yeah.
It's actually a movie that plays really well in theaters just because of the weight to it for obvious reasons.
Yeah. So, but the disappointing factor is it is still the lowest grossing Marvel Studios film to come out ever, right?
Is still, yes. Probably the closest one to come to it, ironically, since you mentioned it earlier, was Ant-Man. And as of where it sits right now, it's still made just about the same money as the first Hulk movie. So not a super success, not a failure, but
Yeah. Do you know how far it is behind the next movie in the MCU?
Um, not offhand. Let me check it
Okay.
quick.
We gotta have this like a fucking app that we can just and then like doot, 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 it'll just show up instantly. I'm really just filling space that I'm gonna have to delete later, but da 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 da. If I make sounds, it's easier to find until Skylar
Looks
finds
like
his piece of the...
Ant-Man made 170 million.
Yeah. Oh, Ant-Man?
Yep.
Was that the closest one that Hulk's been to? Is Ant-Man?
So far, yeah.
Oh, what about worldwide?
Worldwide, it's about 100 million away. So, you know, yeah, Ant-Man's sitting at about 360 something. So that whole Marvel stamp kind of helped out worldwide, but still.
Okay. Real quick before I get into my section, I don't know if any of you have a solution for this, but are you guys picking up reverb?
Yes.
Like mad reverb? Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
Kind
all
of.
right. Yeah, I'm just wondering where that. I hate to say it, Tom, but do you think your headphones are too close to your microphone?
Maybe. Whoops. Is that better or no?
Well, we'd have to talk into it because it comes through us. Yeah, still.
Still happening?
Yeah, but I think I
Hopefully.
can. I think I can fix that in post. I honestly can. It's very small, and it won't affect too much. Because if you get rid of more spaces, but we're cool. So see, there's a lot of breaks in pace in the show in case you hadn't figured that out yet. That's gonna it happens every time. Don't worry. So next up, comic book section. As far as I can tell, the plot of this movie is not based on any specific Hulk story besides maybe the origin story of Abomination, but comic books that came out in like the Silver Age were where their style was very campy. So this film was not campy. So like it's very much more developed and modernized. So it's really just another it's an adaptation of different Hulk stories. But some characters that have made their premiere in this movie include the character of Jim Wilson, from made in 1970 by Roy Thomas and Herb Trimpe, and he is originally a supporting character for the Hulk in his very early days before he went away for a while, and then they brought the character back with AIDS that he then died from, and his father blamed the Hulk for, just like, you treated, it was a very bad storyline where the father came around and turned himself into some sort of Hulk and then fought the Hulk, and and then he was like, no, I was a failure as a father to Jim. And then, oh good, it's all wrapped up. But Jim Wilson is in the movie for maybe 3-5 seconds. He's being interviewed at the campus, and then whoosh, he's gone. And in case you're wondering, he is the nephew of Sam Wilson, the Falcon. So it's possible they could draw from that in the future. Highly doubtful. I don't know who the heck, what actor played this character, because again, he was barely on screen. So next up, who got a little bit more airtime, was Doc Samson, character played by Ty Burrell of Modern Family fame. And Doc Samson was made in 1971 by Roy Thomas and Herb Trimpe. And he is a long-running side character of the Hulk. He was born Dr. Leonard Skivorsky, and then called Samson because of his long hair. He was originally a womanizer, and he was also Bruce Banner's psychiatrist, and he had temporarily cured the Hulk until he hit on Betty Ross in front of Bruce Banner, to which turned Banner back into the Hulk, and then made Doc Samson go, crap, I messed up. I'm going to be guilty about this forever. That is how they became friends? Colleagues? And while he was treating the Hulk, he exposed himself to some siphoned gamma radiation, which gave him green hair, and the longer his hair is, the more proportionate it is to how strong he can become. and that's his sort of comic book superpower thing. Besides being a very trained psychiatrist, and that's all really Doc Samson is. He's kind of a fun. He's got a ridiculously weird like Flash Gordon costume too.
Marvel's Rapunzel.
Yeah, he is very much Rapunzel. Doc Samson, send down your hair, and then break a
Let
building.
down your hair.
Yeah, okay. Let your hair grow. Samson, would you ever heard of the "Will be a witness for my"? Okay, that's a song about Samson. It's not that famous, but okay. Next up is The Leader, and this was played by Tim Blake Nelson, who was going by the alias of Dr. or Mr. Blue in the movie. And The Leader was made in 1964 by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. And he was a menial worker at a chemical plant until, oh no, a happenstance of some tanks exploding, which exposed him to gamma radiation, and then gave him a very large head, green skin, and a pencil mustache. And he looks a lot like DC's Sinestro, but with different colored skin. And this sort of made him... The theory was to make a character as smart as the Hulk is strong. And he's been a long-running arch nemesis of the Hulk, except I don't get how the Leader is able to not make a plan that can't be foiled by the Hulk. He is so much smarter than this guy, but every time, all of his plans fall apart because the Hulk punches something. Yeah.
Just borrow the Hulk tank that we see in Avengers. And then just like exact your plan in that.
Contingency plans. Seriously. You have to deal with one guy who you can outsmart with a part of your brain, and this dude still manages to foil you. He's a really cool comic book character, and nowadays he's been depowered and repowered as Red Leader, so he's exposed to red gamma radiation, which is different. Fictional chemicals.
He also led the Rebel assault on the Death Star.
What?
Red Leader?
Yes, Red Leader. Wasn't that Red Leader 2?
Porkins reporting in.
Brown Leader 2.
Copy Gold Leader.
Yellow Leader 1.
Anyway.
All right. And finally, the last character who's made their appearance is Abomination. The big baddie of this movie was premiered in 1967 by Stan Lee and Gil Kane, who you may remember as creating almost all of the Silver Age Green Lantern stuff. And the story behind Abomination is Stan Lee told Gil to make a baddie who's just bigger than the Hulk, and we're going to have fun with that character. That's all he wanted. So he made this KGB spy named Emil Blonsky who wanted to be strong because he's seen how strong the Hulk can be, so he exposes himself to a ton of gamma radiation and then becomes Abomination. And this character has been through like a lot of different writers, and he's gone from like this bumbling brute to a tactical schemer to a tortured soul, and he has it's really hard to pinpoint which Abomination is like your favorite because he's depicted so many different ways in not only the comic books but in television and movies, because he's sort of like the tactical schemer who went a little insane in the movie, but in television he's very much a bumbling brute, and in the comics he's more of a tortured soul. So he's a very diverse character. And in case you're wondering, the way he can beat up Hulk is the comics explains that his strength is initially twice the strength of the Hulk, but it doesn't fluctuate, whereas the Hulk, the angrier he gets, the stronger he gets, so therefore if Hulk fights him long enough, he's able to beat him. Just a little water cooler tip to send to the pals in case they ever wondered after watching Incredible Hulk, well, what makes this guy even a contender? Oh.
It's really reassuring to know that Stan Lee, in creating this character, was just like, no, I don't really want to do anything complex. I just want a bigger, badder Hulk. And movie studios have been eating up that villain archetype for the films ever since.
Oh, yeah, and I want to mention that the character Emil Blonsky still exists in the MCU. If you watch Shield, there have been multiple passings of just like I'm gonna put you in a cell next to Blonsky. I'm gonna have you guarding Blonsky's cell. So like Tim Roth is still part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe crew. I don't know if they're ever gonna bring Abomination back because they just don't mention the Incredible Hulk ever. But
That will change.
Yeah, hopefully that'll change. So next up, we have Skylar with the music, and I have no clips prepped, so I'm just going to listen to these as you talk about them, and I'm just going to cue you in because I figured out that it doesn't record from my terminal, so I actually have to always input the clips in
Afterward.
edit. Yeah, in post. So just go ahead and talk.
All right. Music to The Incredible Hulk, done this time by Craig Armstrong, composer we don't hear a whole lot from just because he doesn't do a whole lot of stuff on a regular basis. Some of his previous scores include the most recent Great Gatsby. I'm pretty sure he did movies like Ray and what's the other one I'm thinking?
I'm gonna pause you real quick. Tom, could you please just turn your mic off for a second? I want to check if that reverb's coming from you.
Yeah.
Real
yeah,
quick.
definitely.
Oh no, just go up on your Google Hangout screen and press the mute mic button. You don't have
Oh,
to.
okay.
You have to do anything from your set. That way we can tell you're muted. Is there reverb? There is no reverb.
Reverb.
So we're gonna ask you, please, Tom. We did this with Ben earlier when he had roommates having a very nice conversation outside of his door. Is to just have your mic muted, and anytime you want to talk, just press that button and unmute your mic and talk. Because then I can handle
Got it.
very limited reverb, but if it's a good way to limit the problem much easier.
Yeah, sorry, I'm that guy right now.
It happens. It happens with all of us. Trust me. Like every freaking new episode, there is some sort of.
There's a new technical issue every time we record. It's really remarkable that we're still finding new things that are terrible.
Yeah. So we're just trying our best with continuing to make fun stuff. So just go ahead and keep your mic muted, please, and we'll pick it up from Skylar.
Okay. Craig Armstrong did the music to Incredible Hulk. Not a composer you hear a whole lot from because he doesn't take a whole lot of projects, but he's behind scores like the most recent Great Gatsby, Elizabeth, The Golden Age, Moulin Rouge. And in fact, this is kind of not something he's really known for, which is astonishing because, confession time, I think this is the best superhero score of 2008.
It's only got to compete with
2008.
Of
Is it better than
2008.
Dark Knight?
Better than Dark Knight.
Oh, hold on.
Wow.
Surprisingly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, give
Digest
us our,
that for a minute.
Can we get our first example then, just so
Sure.
we can gather our thoughts here?
Let's start it off with main titles, main theme of the movie that kind of does all the legwork for the backstory of the film.
Okay, I'm just gonna play this. You guys can play it and listen to it, and I'm just gonna cue you guys in when we can talk again, because I just gotta hear it, so we have something to talk about. All right. Okay. So I listening to that. That's like that was actually kind of a really cool psychological sound.
The thing about this score, I think, there's just so many great themes. It brings out this kind of raw power of, you imagine when you think of the Hulk throughout its orchestral sounds, and there are just so many parts of the film that are just made so much better because of the music of the film. Going back to the Dark Knight question, I love that score too, but so much of it you can hear in the Batman Begins soundtrack. So if you were to compare these two, there's more new stuff here to be like, oh wow, this sounds really awesome. Let's get another example of that in Favela Escape.
These songs sound like they could go in the Pacific Rim soundtrack.
And it's pronounced favela.
Thank you, Ben.
Favela.
Thank you.
Do you know what
Favela.
favela is?
I don't think it has a direct translation, but it's used to refer to slums in especially like big cities in Brazil.
Oh, okay. So the scene where he was in Brazil and running away. Got it.
Mhm.
But I like how at the end of that clip, like just like the tuba comes in, and it's vump, vump, and it's kind of like you kind of picture the Hulk stepping. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. There is this kind of wah-dum, wah-dum sound that comes out throughout the soundtrack, and that's a good kind of foreshadowing of when that happens. You know you're in for a $20 million action scene. So, what's next on the docket here? We got slightly later in the movie, that is the target during the first appearance of the Hulk in the bottling factory. And this is one of my favorites, so yay!
Okay, that track was awesome.
That's some dope stuff. Whenever you hear the you know it's like, good job, Craig Armstrong.
Yeah,
You
is
did.
that guy? What's his next project? Is he gonna do more superhero stuff at all?
I don't think so. I know he likes to work with Louis Leterrier, and he was originally going to do the Clash of the Titans remake a couple of years after this, but he wisely jumped ship on that, and it was actually brought up by Iron Man's Ramin Djawadi. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
his most recent project was Far from the Madding Crowd, so it's more in line with his smaller dramatic efforts. And I honestly don't know what's coming up next, so
Okay.
yeah. Okay. Now, obviously, the music we're showcasing here, big, overbearing Hulk sound that makes the soundtrack so addicting, but it's definitely worth a call out to some of the quieter moments of uh, the tunes, because tracks like Bruce Can't Stay also kind of bring a humanity to the whole thing where it could all just be a big monster mash. So let's take a listen.
Ooh, that was pretty somber. That reminds me a lot of the old Hulk theme song from the TV show, The Lonely Man.
Funny you should say that. I didn't include it on the roster today, but they did actually use that theme early in the movie when Banner is going from Brazil back to America, and he's stopping off in some Mexican town.
He's hitchhiking because that's how they
Yep.
do it at the end of every episode. Is he's
Exactly.
just walking down the road, doom 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 doom.
So yeah, go dig that track up again when you have the chance. I want to revise my earlier statement. Just listening to these tracks, isn't just, I think, the best score of 2008 for superhero films. I think it's still the best MCU score to date.
Oh yeah, it's definitely the best MCU score, I think.
Really? Because I am a big fan of Iron Man 3's.
Iron Man 3 is good, but I think this consistently just nails it in a way that, batting average,
Okay.
Iron Man 3 doesn't quite get there, but
Can we all agree though that Captain America still has the best theme?
No, we can't.
nah. Sorry, I know
The Hulk,
you love your
though.
Captain America, but
What'd you say, Tom?
The thing with the Hulk movie though, I always find after watching it, I'm like humming that theme song, that do 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 do. I'm always humming it, and it's like it just gets stuck in your head. And I don't know, that's what I like about it the best.
Okay. I feel betrayed, guys. That the signature doesn't hold up to you guys as just a perfect set of like 5-7 notes.
You know what's a perfect set of 5 to 7 notes?
No.
no.
Okay. Well, that's too bad. 'Cause I do.
What?
What?
Give me a punchline, jerkwad.
Probably the, hold on. I think it's called the Hungarian scale. Let me look it up.
What? I thought you had a joke, not a stupid. Oh, okay.
Oh,
Whatever.
also Yeah by Usher.
Okay, there we go. That might be
Okay,
a better
the
5-7
Hungarian,
notes.
yes, the Hungarian minor solo scale. The Hungarian minor scale, which is C, D, E flat, F sharp, G, A flat. B,
Unnecessary info. Nobody cares. Nobody's visualizing these in their head.
Look,
Okay.
as a former music theory master, I appreciate it though. So
Yeah.
All right.
right.
So talk about your last one.
all right, let's send it out on a high note with Harlem Brawl.
All right, I'm sold. This
Yeah.
playlist is going on my Spotify as in my Get Shit Done music.
No kidding. Funny enough, I believe this is the one of very few soundtracks these days where you can get basically all the music because it's in a 2-disc set. So
All right.
anyone who's looking for more, go track it down because I love this soundtrack. It's so good.
All right. So we're gonna move right on into the science section. Hey Ben,
Hey,
how you doing over there?
I'm doing well. How are you?
That's good. All right.
Yeah.
So Ben, let's please, can we just start with the big obvious Hulk science question in what is the difference between the comic book version of gamma radiation and real life gamma radiation?
Okay, so in the Marvel comics, in the Marvel comic movies, gamma radiation seems to just be everywhere, And
Yeah.
in fact, okay, real gamma radiation it's just a name for extremely high energy, short wavelength photons. So they're like X-rays, but even more further out on the electromagnetic spectrum. They're usually produced during nuclear reactions, or from astronomical sources, which of course are also nuclear reactions. So supernova, pulsars, stuff like that. Um, Interestingly, they are produced also in thunderstorms here on Earth.
Were they
So,
was that a big thing before we started testing the atomic bomb, or is that sort of have they always been like that?
I mean, they've always been around. We just haven't always taken an interest in them.
Okay.
Yeah. So they are what's called ionizing radiation, which means that they carry enough energy to basically just break apart molecules in your body.
The way I like think of it, because I actually took a class on this and it was tried, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but is that there are these an ionized atom, comes at you, and it's charged, and it has more electrons than it should,
Or fewer.
or fewer, and so what it does is it goes through you, because it's very tiny, and you absorb it, and it pushes out, and it replaces like one of your atoms, but it also like changes its structure, so it pushes out an electron, so that's where you get like
Yeah.
deterioration, like cancer.
Yeah. So an ionizing radiation, this high energy photon comes in, hits one of the molecules in your cells, and basically knocks off an electron, which ionizes that molecule and makes it behave differently. And that's why exposure to radiation causes cancer, because it damages the DNA in your cells, and then they don't replicate properly.
Now, let me tell you how Stan Lee wanted to describe gamma radiation. And it was originally supposed to be this stupid thing, this energy that of course, he didn't know anything about. He just thought it sounded cool because he's a creative artist. And they were trying to develop this bomb that would destroy buildings but wouldn't harm people, if I remember correctly. And of course,
Wouldn't the people be harmed when the building collapsed and then they fell 20 feet?
that too, but I mean, like,
Exactly.
but if you warn someone, you can tell them, you can tell people to like get out of buildings much faster than you can get out of a blast radius. It's
Okay.
yeah, okay.
I don't see why you couldn't just evacuate the building anyway and then blow it up with dynamite. Which would
Well,
be okay, none of this makes sense, but that's okay. Go on.
it was an answer to like the nuclear bomb leaving a lot of radiation, and gamma wouldn't leave radiation, and that's bullcrap because the comics have developed it so that it definitely does. It's been very closely attributed to nuclear bombs, but in a way that like it's much less discovered in the comic book world, and it affects bodies differently by giving you superpowers, or
Hooray!
unlocking characteristics about yourself, because the leader, because in the comic books, everybody was trying to achieve something when they got exposed to gamma radiation. Bruce had this hidden anger from seeing his mother die in front of him by his father. The leader had this tremendous resentment for not being as smart as his older brother, and Abomination had this resentment for not being as strong as the Hulk. So it sort of was supposed to be the sort of unlocking force. But in real life, it just gives you cancer. Stay away from it.
It doesn't just give you cancer. It actually has a lot of good applications. They're actually gamma rays are actually very similar to X-rays in a lot of ways. The range of wavelengths of light that we call X-rays and gamma rays overlap a little bit. So what we use gamma rays for are like in medicine. So like if you want to do an X-ray, you could do like a gamma ray thing
Okay.
scan. And also like if you want to use radiation to kill cancer cells, you target it with X or gamma rays. Airport security, because they pass through a lot of stuff, you can use it to see into, like a thick suitcase. And obviously they're used a lot in physics research as well.
All right. So let's
They're
move
not
on.
all bad.
Good to hear. So let's move on to the next topic then. You want to talk about those sound cannons that were used in the movie?
Those sound cannons. Yeah, so they use these sound cannons to trap the Hulk, and we kind of touched on this. We kind of touched on this in X-Men First Class, where you have sound is like a pressure like a change in pressure in the air, and so if you do it really carefully, you can get really intense shock waves that can, isolate and levitate particles. So the sound cannons in the Incredible Hulk kind of operate under the same principle. In real life, if you wanted to do this, you'd have to be in a carefully controlled laboratory because sound is difficult to deal with. So
I would assume so. And I just have a question for you. In that I want to know, like, how much of the Hulk's figure can a person achieve? In that, like, is there a way that when you get angrier, you get stronger as a person?
Again, I'm not a doctor, so anything I say about biology or medicine is probably just going to be completely wrong. But, intense anger is usually accompanied with the release of certain chemicals in your brain, which I'm guessing include testosterone and or adrenaline, which definitely, can make you, yeah.
A little bit stronger.
Yeah. Like if you have adrenaline going through you, you can do athletic feats that you wouldn't otherwise because you're getting chased by a bear and don't want to die.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
yeah, I think, we've all been told stories of someone was trapped under a car, or some mom's kid was whatever, and the adrenaline started going, and it gave him a little spurt of strength that they wouldn't normally have.
Yeah.
How stretched that is, I don't know, but it's probably not to the point of your cellular structure just doubling in size.
Yeah, no, that's not.
Or your skin turning green.
Yeah, that too.
Hopefully not.
Or gray in some cases. Ooh.
I've seen it happen red too, although it might actually turn red.
And don't forget, A-Bomb was blue. They have all the different colors of Hulks. I don't think there's a purple one yet, but fingers crossed.
Oh, no, I think there is, because when I was in band, we took a band trip to St. Louis, and we toured the St. Louis Rams training facility. And I forget who it was, but at the time they were the number one offensive lineman in the league. And they had a collection of Hulk action figures, but they were posed so that they appeared to be engaging in various lewd sexual acts, and one of them was purple. So
I like so much context to get to just I've seen a purple Hulk.
I saw a purple Hulk action figure, so
a purple Hulk whose name was Barney.
Oh, oh, so good. Any more science you want to talk about, Ben?
Not really. I had fun with this one though.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. Just gamma is a really cool thing, but we really just need to stress that the comic books are way different in their description, as well as its abilities and everything.
I think it was Avengers, maybe, where I started complaining about how the movie's depiction of gamma radiation was completely wrong, and you cut that segment because you're actually, comic book gamma radiation is completely different from real life gamma rays, and since you don't know better, we're just gonna deal with that in the Incredible Hulk.
yeah, I probably did that. All right, so we're gonna go to Twitter Tom segment.
Fun facts. You guys ready?
I was born ready.
All right. I guess I learned this today that the director, Louis Leterrier, actually was pushing for Mark Ruffalo to be the Hulk, but Marvel insisted that it was Ed Norton, which I thought was kind of ironic.
I was just about to say, that's really ironic considering the falling out.
Right. And and then now you can't picture the Hulk without Ruffalo, in my opinion. So I thought that was kind of...
I've got some lingering feelings for Eric Bana.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was so good. Said no one ever. Also, there's an alternate beginning and alternate opening segment on the DVD that actually has another reference to the MCU. Is that Edward Norton is walking on, you see this big Arctic cliff, and he's contemplating suicide, and you see him with the gun, and he references this in the Avengers when he says he puts a gun in his mouth and he says the other guy spit the bullet out. Well, in the alternate opening, he hulks out and you see this avalanche come, and if you freeze frame it, you can supposedly see Captain America in ice. So I thought that was a nice, neat little Easter egg.
How many of you have actually done this? Raise your hand. Oh, just
I did
me?
it one time right before this podcast, and you can kind of see an outline.
Yeah, it's like a shadow.
But it's like somebody put that in there for a reason.
It wasn't just a caveman.
Right. I got, Lou Ferrigno was the security guard when he's delivering pizzas. That's a classic. He was the Hulk in the original TV show.
Well, Lou Ferrigno has been involved in, I think, almost every single Hulk project since 1970.
Well, I guess he was in 2003 Hulk, wasn't he? He was another security guard. He was walking out with Stan Lee. Now that I think about it, yeah.
He also does voiceovers for the Hulk in the Avengers movies.
Yeah, along with this movie. That was my next one. He voices the Hulk in this movie.
That's crazy.
He only has like eight words, I think. Hulk smash being two of them. But yeah. He also voiced the Hulk in this. And another one was that Ed Norton also helped write the screenplay. And depending on your sources, Tim Roth, the guy who played Emil Blonsky, said that he was rewriting the script every day, working on the Bruce Banner's backstory and all this stuff. And Marvel did not give him a screenwriting credit. It all went to Zach Penn, and I think Ed Norton didn't even promote this movie because he was so pissed about not getting any credit for all the rewrites he helped do.
Yeah, there was a long standing stuff about Ed Norton in Marvel. It's fun to read about, actually.
Yeah, he's this isn't the first movie where he's clashed with, the upper level of, the movie making business. So
You're messing with my art.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it is pretty fascinating, the news this week about kind of the falling out between Kevin Feige and the rest of Marvel, Ike Perlmutter, and it just kind of brings that to mind again, I think.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Kevin Feige, the guy said he was a dick, and like he didn't have. I don't know if I can cuss on this or not, but he like the creative control. Like a lot of people blame Feige, but I think it came from the people above Feige who said, you have to have this in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Well,
now that
I would bring a quick point in that it's ironic to see Edward Norton's character in Birdman, because you kind of get a sense that he's playing himself. And if you've ever seen that movie, he constantly clashes with Michael Keaton, who's the creative, the front of the movie and of the play, whatever. It's just you got to see that movie and you realize, like, man, is that how Edward Norton? It kind of feels like he's really natural in this role. He's a little bit too comfortable.
Another, I don't know if this was intentional or not, but back to what you said about Mr. Blue and Mr. Green, it's ironic that Tim Roth was Mr. Orange in Reservoir Dogs. So I don't know if that was a little nod to that or what. Also, if you watch Iron Man 2, you can see in the background they're playing the news footage from that attack at the college campus. So that leads me to believe that this took place like during Iron Man 2 or just before. I don't know if Iron Man 2 came out right after this or
Yeah, it came out pretty much. Yeah, but not too many months after.
So it was kind of like it took me by surprise that Iron Man 2 either happened during.
Well, the MCU used to be a lot more subtle about how they're a connected universe.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's really, really obvious.
Now it's offensive how obvious it is. Like when Falcon showed up, we're gonna talk about Ant-Man, I think, in a later episode. But when Falcon showed up in Ant-Man, I was mad.
I was like, "That's
now we have it, Marvel."
I was insulted.
Now we have an entire Avengers movie that's dedicated to the fact that this is a connected universe.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, that entire Avengers movie was about the next Avengers movie that's coming out, pretty much.
Exactly.
They're just setting up, and that was my main problem with that movie, but.
For sure.
All right, what's your next one?
I got when Liv Tyler hands him the purple sweatpants, a nice reference to the comics where he said he would take his chances of wearing anything else but that.
Mm-hmm.
Call back to the super soldier serum that they give Blonsky from Captain America.
Which they can never reference the super soldier serum enough in Marvel properties.
I agree. Another one that I noticed just watching tonight actually was when he's in that cave and it's thundering, and for some reason he starts yelling at the thunder and throws a big rock at it. I don't know if that's a Thor reference, if it has anything to do with Thor, because she says it's just a little thunder and lightning. So I don't know if that was a subtle hint.
You're saying like in his Hulk form he's like a dog, and he just like sensed a person up there, and his form of barking is throwing a rock at the cloud.
Do you remember that part in the movie? Like, it's just a random scene. They're in this cave, and it's thundering, and he just hulks out and, like, whips a rock up into the sky and just screams. And I just, like... But I don't know at that time they announced that Thor was coming out. So I don't know if that was a hint that was their next movie. Because I think
it was just
years later.
Yeah, I think we might be digging a bit deep here, because I think that was just I'm an angry at the world moment.
Could also be a nice nod to the ending of the last Hulk movie. Ugh.
Oh yeah, that too.
And the last one I got was, I don't know if it's a really fun fact about the movie, but what you were saying, Skylar, about it's a 2-disc soundtrack. Craig Armstrong honestly didn't think he wasn't that proud of his music, and the producer said, no, we want the full 2-disc soundtrack to sell this, and he gave him 1 disc, thought they were joking, and they're like, no, we really want all your music, like, we love the soundtrack. So I thought that was pretty neat.
Oh wow.
So I don't know if you knew that or not, but I found that, because you're like, no other Marvel movie has had a complete 2-disc. I mean, every single piece of music's on that CD, on those CDs.
Exactly. It must have been fairly last minute too, because when I got the CD originally, it was a CDR. They literally just took it off like an office computer and had like the green back to it.
Oh no.
So yeah, that's all I got for fun facts. But yeah, there's a lot of subtle hints to the MCU. Not as much as there are now in the movies.
All right, wow, that's some solid stuff you got there, Twitter Tom. I kind of felt like I was just just listening to someone read parts of IMDb trivia, and that's also like a favorite pastime when I can get around to it, is just all those little behind the scenes nuggets that we all never notice, but it just adds so much more to the movie once you put it all in perspective. Especially the tremendous amount of respect I have for this music now, like having taken it apart from the film.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna move right on to because of this movie. I know you have some, Tom, so feel free to start us out.
The one I thought because of this movie, Ruffalo Hulk was born. That's
Oh,
my nickname for Ruffalo's Hulk.
Ruffle Hulk.
Ruffalo Hulk.
Um, well, I'm gonna take this one because we need to talk about this because of this movie we got the character of General Thunderbolt Ross in the Marvel Universe, and he was played by William Hurt, and we haven't heard from him since, but he is cast in Marvel Civil War, so we get to be excited about that, and that they're finally mentioning Hulk again. Or at least not so much mentioning it because they've done that before, but actually bringing a character in, an actor, because Betty Ross didn't die, Blonsky didn't die, Samuel Stearns presumably didn't die, leader, and neither did General Ross. So all of these characters are still out, and the Hulk is still a very high-profile figure because of his involvement in the Avengers.
It's actually kind of refreshing that they're not going to retcon all those characters again, because with the firing of Ed Norton, you'd think they would just go and recast every role again, but it's nice to see that finally they are being like, yes, the Incredible Hulk was a thing. Let's talk about this.
Well, yeah, and it's kind of like when they had to recast Terrence Howard with Don Cheadle.
A decision no one mourned.
All right. Next. Anyone?
I got because of this movie, the Hulk still doesn't have another standalone film because it's not that big of a moneymaker.
Yeah, it's weird because he was such a fan favorite coming out of the first Avengers film.
I make the joke all the time, but I still kind of stand by it that Avengers is the best Hulk movie.
It's very true. It is.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And they didn't really touch on that character at all, so I wouldn't call it a Hulk movie. But that is when that character shined the brightest because we got to see, it's like the most exciting parts of the Hulk, surrounded by like good stuff.
We got the best iteration in context of the movie, and they also finally got to the point where the Hulk didn't look just completely ridiculous. Still pretty ridiculous, but not completely.
I like to, because of this movie, we got that whole big set of rumors for a while that Phase 3 of Marvel was supposed to be this sort of World War Hulk setup. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, there was news like that, and that they were going to bring in like Guardians of the Galaxy and all that fun stuff.
Because didn't they plan on, or there's a rumor going around at the end of Avengers, instead of him falling into the sea, they were going to shoot him in a rocket up to the moon or something like that? I remember reading that somewhere.
And then he was just going to go away for a while, and then boom, comes back, new set of movies, World War Hulk. Now everybody's got to deal with Mark Ruffalo.
Right.
But then Marvel released a statement saying, no, we cast Mark Ruffalo, we didn't cast Mark Ruffalo Hulk. So we want him, we would, like, as much as the fans want a Hulk, we want like Ruffalo acting because he's so good at it.
Well, and that's what Ruffalo said about Civil War. He said the Hulk's not in it, but we may see Bruce Banner. But now he's saying they scrapped that because what they're doing with where he's been this whole time during Phase 3 until the next Avengers is the payoff's going to be worth it. So
Ooh.
Who knows? That's coming from Ruffalo.
Oh, they're dangling a carrot in front of us, aren't they?
That, and there's literally no room for anyone else in Civil War right now.
Avengers 2.5.
So true. All right. Does anyone have any other because of this movies? Ben, do you have a porn title for us to round us out tonight?
I think it can stand on its own. You just change up the casting a little bit.
I'll title it Hulk Smashed.
Yeah, no, there's no clever puns I can make with this one, so I think that about does it.
All right, so that looks like it'll wrap it up today, superfans. Superhero Movie Club is recorded and produced by Triop Cop Productions. If you like what you hear, show us your support by rating us on iTunes. It is the best. I mean, Tom's done it. He was the first to do it before we even did it ourselves.
You're welcome.
We honestly, when I first saw that, I thought, oh, did Skylar or Ben make an account called Freeze2220 and rate it? And then they're like, no, it's just some actual guy from Ohio.
Someone actually likes our shit.
And we were like, we were only like 8 episodes in. Who knows about us?
Yeah, I
Oh.
honestly couldn't even tell you how I found you guys. I was just doing my nerd searching, and I came across you guys, and then like I was like, these dudes, like I could sit around and have a beer with these dudes and talk movies, like, because there's nobody here in this town that likes movies like I do, and I agree, Ben, right here, buddy.
Cheers.
But
Cheers.
but yeah, like I don't know, and I look forward to your guys' podcast every week. So I think you guys do an awesome job.
Your tweets are the most. They get me through my life.
Huzzah!
They don't get me through the day. They get me through every day. So, yeah, please rate us.
Oh, and if you want to keep talking about any episode with us, let me try this again. Oh, and if you want to keep talking about any episode with us, we encourage discussion on our subreddit, reddit.com/r/superhero movie club. We want to know any fun facts you have on the movie.
Yeah, drop us some
SHM.
articles. Sorry, I interject.
For sure.
It happens. It's a habit.
How dare you? SHMC also keeps up an active Twitter feed at SuperMC, so follow us and send us your questions, comments, and suggestions, and we'll use them on the air.
Damn straight, and shut down. So, that'll do today. I'm your host, Michael Maurer.
James Skeller Hutzma.
And Ben Anderson.
And Twitter time.
Yeah! And we hope you all have a super week. Bye, everybody.
Yay.
Yeah.